This wholesaler almost went bankrupt from a TCPA fine scare after watching a friend get hit with a $1 million fine for mass texting. So he ripped out his entire outbound system and rebuilt his business around one channel, Google PPC. Today, Brandy Pollack is on track to hit $3 million this year, spending up to $70,000 a month on ads and generating 330 leads a month at just $168 a lead. In this video, Brandy breaks down the exact speed to lead system that gets his team on the phone with sellers in under 4 minutes, how he structures his ad spend by quarter, and the real cost per contract and profit numbers behind scaling nationwide. Because most investors think spending more on ads is risky, but once you have a repeatable, predictable system like this one, the real risk is not spending enough. This masterclass is exactly how you build that system the right way.
We got a special episode, a special part of the community office hours that we have in REIpreneurs. And because I want to show people, we already brought someone in that scaled business locally, and they were using Google ad systems, Facebook ad systems, you name it, and so on. But you are located in South Florida and you build a business that this year is going to hit the 3 mil mark, right? And you are doing this in a national level. All you leverage is inbound. So I want to introduce you, and everyone needs to know that first of all, branding is a client of ours. It's a friend of mine too. We had an amazing interview that we went into some details about his story. But today, what I wanted him to present is like how he actually got to the 3 mil a year mark, how's his business structured, how he actually, the levels of the game that he had to go through in order to get to that point, and just ultimately what he's doing right now that actually works, and maybe what doesn't work, right? So I think it will be a great episode today. Brandy, owner of Total Cash Home Buyers. And we buy South Florida.
Yeah, we buy South Florida. This is the new, our new brand that we're going to be working hand in hand with Esteban here in South Florida.
Yes, sir. And I'm excited for this episode. I'm gonna leave you here for you to lead this however you want to. Brandy, please introduce yourself and get it going.
Sure. Okay. My name is Brandy Pollack. I'm here located in South Florida. I've been doing real estate for 20 years. Started at probably the worst time that anybody could have started prior to the Great Recession. Took my lumps, learned what I was going to do better the next time once I was given the proper opportunity. Was not doing any direct to seller marketing until 2018. So I cut my teeth here in South Florida, learning. I was a lender for 20 years. I did mortgages for a while, was working on that side with actually doing like retail deals with agents here in the South Florida area. In 2008, 2009, everything collapsed. When things started to regenerate again, it was all basically the REO deals, which were banks that had taken foreclosures back. They were then selling the properties, and who were buying those? The new investors who were in the market, who were trying to buy, to fix up a little and resell. So I was handling on the mortgage side for buyers there. Basically, my journey into direct to seller marketing happened through the need, because everything that I had been doing from like 2012 to 2018 were just referrals with realtors. All I did was market to realtors who were listing their properties on the MLS. It was the same kind of thing. When you're dealing with a seller, you're trying to build rapport. Well, with the realtors, it was building rapport, and it was just trying to get in with agents who were going to have repeat business. And the best way to, number one, get extra deals from an investor or to get more deals from a realtor is one thing, and that's perform. Everybody talks, but when you perform, that's when people want to give you more deals. They want to work with you because, there's talk is cheap, and when you can really back it up, that's when the deals, that's when they start to multiply. So in 2018, I saw the foreclosure market drying up, and it was okay. It's time to learn the direct to seller marketing. Jumped headfirst. Really didn't have proper mentorship. Jumped into direct mail. We got some data. We sent 100,000 mailers in 2 months and sat back and waited for the phone to ring. First month, didn't ring. Second month, didn't ring. Started to get impatient. By the end of the second month, we got our first wholesale deal. It ended up being a $60,000 assignment where I had been doing flips, and I had told if I had done the flip myself, it would have been obviously more, but it was kind of proof of concept to make sure that we understood that wholesaling was working. And that was the proof of concept right there, the first wholesale deal that we were able to do. From there, I was dabbling with some PPC, but I was never consistent. And unfortunately, when you play, it's one thing, but when you really go hard into it, you learn the tricks of the trade. So I was jumping around from one agency to another, not really putting sufficient time into it, just wanting that quick hit. And in this business, unless you're going to be consistent, it's really not going to work. So in 2018, in November, I went to a convention in Asheville, North Carolina. It was the Wholesaling Inc. with Tom Kroll and Cody Hoffine and Brent Daniels and Todd Toback. I went there and I learned about TTP. TTP is Talk to People. It's the Brent Daniels cold calling program. Went headfirst into cold calling. Saw it as something that we could learn, we could understand it. I got some callers together. I tried the American calling system, wasn't great. Then went over and got some VAs from the Philippines. I use the term VA. I want to restate that term. VA, virtual assistant, it's not there. When you have a trusted person who works offshore, they're an RTM. RTM is remote team member, because the word VA, I think, brings down the value of who you have working with you. And remote team member really gives them the credit that they are, because they're right there with you. So, I like to use the RTM word. So we got some callers from the Philippines, started with that. We were then able to scale. We were able to, we became beta users of the texting platform called Sherpa. I don't know if anybody here knows about Lead Sherpa, but we were doing texting prior to COVID. Right as it all started, this is where you could the floodgates were open. There were no filters. You could really go hard into texting, and we were able to bring our cost per contract down. But I'm still dabbling in PPC. I'm not really all in. I'm jumping from one provider to the next, getting little hits, but not being consistent with it. So COVID comes, and I realized, listen, I don't need my own office. I have these remote team members in the Philippines. Let me close down my office and let me go fully virtual. So I had never been a fully virtual company. I had remote team members, but we had an in-office. I had an executive assistant. I had a lead manager, and I had a acquisition manager at the time. So COVID comes. It was an amazing time for us, because a lot of people were afraid. And when people are afraid, those who are actually working are able to, to multiply. So we were able to get a lot of good deals in COVID. COVID was a good time for us. We did a lot of good flips. All along from 2012 to 2018, I was never really wholesaling. Everything had been fix and flip. So it was all what I could acquire, and then understanding how to fix the properties up and then to resell them. In the interim, my wife had been, she had been a school teacher. She had then gotten into school fundraising, and she wanted to get herself out of that. So I advised, if you want to get out, we could always use a real estate company. So she got her license. She then became a broker. So we've had our own real estate brokerage as well here in South Florida since like 2016. And I really only created the brokerage for us to be able to have our own means of listing our own properties, not having to pay a realtor, and being in control of the disposition of the flips that we were doing. So through COVID, we're now virtual, doing cold calling, doing texting, direct mail. I did it at the beginning. I never really remained consistent with it, but I kept on with with PPC, Google PPC. I knew I needed to get in that area, but I just hadn't found the right people to work with. And when you don't have consistency, it's hard to build something. So 2021, 2022, 2023, in 2023, we decide that we really need to focus more on Google. So we get a remote team member from Egypt who was able to help us start our campaigns. And then through 23, we phase out that person who was handling it, and we started with a different agency in 2024. That whole time, we had been doing cold calling and we had been doing texting, and that was our main outbound was everything. I didn't really consider Google PPC as a means for us to be running our business. It was all basically just cold call, text, do a little bit of Google, and through our cold calling, we found a company in Egypt who was able to refer us one caller. That one caller became a fountain of talent that we were able to absorb because they referred one of their friends. Their friend, literally from one hire, today, right now, I have 3, 5, 6, I have 8 Egyptian remote team members, and they're the backbone of the company. Between our Egyptian team members, we have 8. We have 3 Filipino team members. One of them is in systems. 2 of them are follow-up specialists. And our acquisitions team is all American based, but they're virtual. They're throughout the United States. But the addition of that Egyptian cold caller who was able to bring in all that talent for us has really helped us really progress drastically. So that was an amazing addition to our team. So 2024 comes, and I realize there's TCPA compliant issues. I don't know if anybody here knows what TCPA is, but the cold calling and texting, there was just a lot of crackdown, and there was a lot of liability when it came to texting. Esteban and I are in masterminds together where there was one guy who was doing texting. He got $1 million fine, and you can't get away from that. So, a lot of these companies, you get a fine like that, you're not only are you out, but you're then going bankrupt. So I read the writing on the wall. It was, we need to go inbound. We need motivated sellers reaching out to us. So systematically, we stopped texting. We still use texting, but we don't use texting on a mass level. What we're doing is we're texting obviously our buyers. Our buyers dispo process, texting is a big part of it. But in the sellers, what we've done is we've developed a whole drip sequence where sellers are getting called, they're getting texted, and then we have nurture campaigns. So texting is still a viable part of our business, but it's just not being done on a bulk level where we could have liability. So in 2024, we make the change that we need to go inbound. We start with the inbound marketing. We're working, but the sales process wasn't as tight as it needed to be. So for all of you out there, understand something. Just because you turn on marketing doesn't mean that you could spend a lot of money on marketing, but if your sales and disposition isn't in line with the leads that are coming in, all you're doing is buying opportunities that you can't fulfill. So it's super important for everybody out there. I don't know how many of you guys are new, but to really be able to work on the sales process and being able to get these sellers into contract and then being able to sell them. So just turning on a fountain of leads doesn't always turn into profits. At some level, if you get too many leads and you don't have the ability to process them, it could turn into more of a problem than it could be a benefit. So take that into consideration and be very clear when you're turning on marketing that you better have a team behind you who's able to support you. Or if you're the one who's taking the calls, the key to Google PPC is one thing. It's called speed to lead. You have to recognize that when you get an inbound lead and there's a form that's filled, the thought that you're the only one who they filled that form for, you have to be vigilant. The moment that lead comes in, literally the clock is ticking. Like we have a setup in our system where at 1 minute there's a Slack message going out. At 2 minutes, there's a Slack message going out. Like our entire goal for inbound marketing is to be on the phone with the seller within 2 to 4 minutes. Because if you're not, somebody else is. They're not, these sellers, when they want to sell a house, they're not sitting around waiting for you to call them. Like if you're not fully 100% committed to calling these sellers, when they fill out the form, they're going somewhere else. And these opportunities, you never know what's on the other end of one of these opportunities. So if you're a solo guy or a solo gal, you get a lead, you're at dinner waits. Literally, you're going into, you're stepping out away from the table and you're trying to call these sellers back because, like I said, if you don't call them, they're just going to go. It costs them nothing to fill out a form. They have no understanding that when they type in, I need to sell my house fast, all these companies pop up. It's $175 to $225 every time they push click. They don't care. They'll fill out 8 to 10 forms. Who are they going to work with? A lot of times they're going to work with the first person that gets to them. And then at that moment, once you have them on the phone, then it's the rapport building. Then it's the really creating the bond with the seller, understanding how it is that what is the need that you can fill in order for them to want to work with you. So it's speed to lead. And then from that point on, it's the rapport building. So 2024, we were doing it. 2025, I realized I got to keep spending. The end of 24 and beginning of 2025, it was a little bit of a rocky time because we weren't 100% dedicated and all in on inbound. I had to shed the outbound marketing. And once I shed it and really went all in on inbound, that's when the real results started to come in. Because going from COVID through 2025, we had never really done more than like 1.8 million. That was our max sales in a year, gross revenue. Granted, I had a smaller team. My marketing budget was a little bit less, but a lot of the times, because I had always focused on fix and flips, I basically didn't build out the dispo process because I figured if it's a really good deal, why would I dispo this to somebody else? I know how to do the flips. I'll just buy the deal myself. So I inherently became the number one customer for the wholesale team. When I say we have a fix and flip business, we have a wholesale business, and then we have the brokerage. So the fix and flip business relied on the wholesale business to create the leads. That was when we were more regional. When I say regional, I'm talking about like Florida, South Florida. We branched out a little, but when I recognized that Google PPC, you can do it anywhere, that's when everything opened up. And that's why Esteban basically invited me here today, because doing 1 million to 1.5 to 1.8, that's a good business, okay? But when you're able to expand and then go into and be in that 3 million, which God willing, we're going to actually surpass that this year, which will have been this will be our best year out. And then going into next year, I mean, I'm looking to do at least, I don't want to make numbers, but at least 50% more than I did this year. So we're looking to do in the 4 and up range next year, just because we can scale this accordingly. Excuse me 1 minute. So when you're I don't know what levels each of you guys are at, but the question isn't, ooh, how much am I spending on marketing? The question is, how much can I spend on marketing? Like, the goal is to be able to spend as much as possible, because when it becomes a repeatable and predictive business, it's okay if it's between 3.5 to 4x ROAS. ROAS means return on ad spend. I want to spend as much as I can, because this is a repeatable business. My goal next year is to be spending 100K a month on marketing. That's what I really would like to be able to do. So this year, 2026, we've been scaling up and up and up. So to give you guys some numbers, because I've been discussing a lot of the theory around it, we spent in Google marketing, in Google ads, first quarter, the company spent 137,000. Should I can share this so that everybody can see what I'm looking at here.
Let's make it happen. I want to see you numbered. I want to see things. Yeah.
Because it's one thing to talk, it's another thing to really show it. Okay. So this is our numbers. This is the nuts and bolts of everything. So this was through July. We did 161. Of that, 121 is with Google. We had spent 300. We were on track for 53,000 a month as of this year. So here's our contracts, the amount of leads. So our leads basically are $167 a piece, and that's across all markets. Average revenue, 23,000. Q3 assigned, not yet closed, 433,000. The month of August is a monster month for us, which is great. So our August revenue is going to be 386. Of that, we will have spent 70,000 in marketing. So our revenue from January to August, we're going to be right under 2 million. So the company, we've never done 2 million in a year. It was 1.8, but that was with some big flips. So we're going to be at 2 million through August. So the goal is to surpass the $3 million mark this year. So our pace right now is 249. It shows an annualized pace of 299, but I think we can beat that. So here is the math. Okay, so quarter one, 137. Quarter two, we spent 172. In July, we spent 63,000. In August, 70,000. Is this after paying all workers? This is this is gross. Whoever sent me that. Okay, so then our monthly average January to August will be 55K. But as you can see, we're really trending up, because in July we will have spent 63, and we're basically on track for 70 How much is the net? Our goal is between 40 and 45%. That was a good question. Okay, so here's our lead count. Average about 330 leads, $168 per contract. We're averaging right around 20 contracts a month, which to put into perspective, we spent 70, our goal is to spend 70,000 in August. We've gotten 9 contracts this week, which is an amazing.
I think you meant to say 168 per lead, right?
What's that? Yeah, it's $168 per lead. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Cost per contract is right around 2,800. And
Yeah.
we're 100% virtual. We're doing everything. The business was built around doing business only in South Florida. Once I realized what PPC was and how powerful it was, then it was, okay, where are the better markets? Because some markets are better than others. So we wanted to venture out, and we're doing, what is your average net profit per deal? Right around, the net profit is around 15 to 16. Okay, so here's our revenues. This is our cost per contract. The reason I say, because it's about 22 is what we're getting per deal. And with the fallout, a cost per contract is 2,800, but we're basically, are you saying 15K or 50? No, net profit is about 15K per deal, not 15%. You have to, when you're doing Google PPC and when you're doing nationwide, there's fallout. So if our goal is to be able to close about 60% of all the contracts that come in. What do we got here? Okay, so these are our three. The number here for flips is incorrect, because because basically it's 2 transactions. When we do a flip, we buy the property and then we resell it. So this is not showing where we are with deals that will be potentially closing. This is just showing what we've purchased. So the numbers are wrong there. But as you can see, our wholesale deals $1,080,000 and then novation 404. It's super important to not, you can't be a one-trick pony in this business. You have to have multiple exits, because if not, you're just leaving money on the table. So for so long, I had a self-limiting belief that why would somebody want to do a novation? Why would they just not list it themselves? And my shtick, let's just call it, that I put on myself and on the company affected our ability to do business. Once I bought in to the fact as to what we have to offer, we create a white glove service for sellers. There's sellers who just don't want to have to deal with everything. So the novation process that we've created, you said you have 20 contracts per month. Are they all whole? No, the 20 contracts are not all wholesale. It's 20, it's between wholesale and novation. And then some flips. We're basically right now, we're on pace to do like 20 some odd flips for the year. We always have like 2 in the pipeline. So the novation has been absolutely powerful. It's super important. You have to be able to have different exits, because at the end of the day, sellers want a certain amount of money. If a seller has the ability to sacrifice some time, they can get a better price. But everything is give and take. If a seller has a deal and they have to close and they need to close right now, you're basically going to be you're basically going to have to do a wholesale. But if your seller has the ability to give you time, you can pay more on a novation than you can on a wholesale. Because what we're doing is we're taking these properties and we're marketing them on the MLS to an end buyer, as opposed to a cash investor. So when you take that middle out of the equation, you can pay more for a property, which is giving you a better possibility to win, and you can use conventional VA and FHA financing on the back end to get an end buyer, which is the strongest part about the novation process. To do this type of stuff, to work virtually, you have to have a process together. These numbers don't happen. The exits don't happen if you don't have everything in sync. So basically, like I discussed, it's speed to lead. In the same respect, it's speed to market to marketing. So like once we have a property under contract, we have a process in place where automatically we're getting pictures. We're then sourcing realtors. So a lot of does the group here know novations? Should I go into a deeper explanation, Esteban, or?
Yeah. The group definitely knows. Maybe we haven't had like a full deep masterclass innovations just yet. I mean, we had it 2 years ago, but I mean, you can do
so basically at the time when we're signing contracts, what we're trying to understand is what is the timeline, what is the motivation, and really what is the threshold for them for price. So if we recognize that they have more time to be able to wait in order to sell, and their number is higher than what we can offer them on a wholesale, we're pushing right for a novation. With a novation, they sign a regular contract, and then we have another document in our contract package, which is an attorney in fact. So a lot of times when we're doing these, like title companies, they don't all understand it. There's a lot of coaching that has to happen after we have the contract, and we're interviewing title companies as to what's their ability to handle these, because a lot of these companies and realtors, they think it's a POA. A POA is a power of attorney. A power of attorney gives you much more rights to sign on the behalf of a seller than an attorney in fact does, an AIF. So an attorney in fact that we have signed by the sellers, if we're going the novation route, gives us the authority to sign listing agreements and sign contracts. So when we list these properties on the market and the contracts come in, let's say Esteban is the seller. The contract's being signed, Esteban Andrade by Brandy Pollack, attorney in fact. That's that. Once we've signed the contract, it goes to the title company. The seller is handling all their own signing. So a lot of times there's confusion about, oh, is this, or your documents aren't together. It's not properly addressed. So there's a lot of back and forth sometimes because some of the title companies don't get it. And we explain to them, no, the attorney in fact is a limited power that we have, but the sellers are going to be signing all of their own documents. They're going to sign the deed. Everything's going to work out that way. So the novation has been super powerful. I bought into how we could utilize this. And basically the way that the acquisitions has utilized it is they'll price anchor for cash, but then come in with the novation once they've seen what the seller's needs are. To give context, we did a deal in Ohio. The acquisitions came in at $275,000 cash. The seller wasn't going to agree with that. It was never going to happen. So we were able to negotiate the price for a $389,000 novation. So the thing about novations are what the part of the sell that we're doing is that we're explaining to the seller that we're handling everything. You have no commissions, you have no closing costs, and most importantly, if there's any issues with the house of inspections or anything like that, we're taking care of that. So this is a white glove service, one-stop shop. That's the way that we can differentiate ourselves as well from realtors, because when somebody says to us, oh no, we're just going to list it with a realtor and they'll handle everything. So our rebuttal is, okay, so if there's a problem with the property, are they handling your repairs? What are they doing for you? No, you're going to have to deal with that. We've had multiple deals. I'm going to go back to the Ohio because that was a whale, but we've had multiple deals where we're literally handling construction for these sellers prior to close and being able to work contractors onto the HUD so that they're being paid directly from the HUD. So it's amazing. We had a deal in Marietta, Georgia. My Egyptian remote team member negotiated $30,000 worth of improvements that needed to happen to the house in order for it to qualify. And we made like $45,000 on that deal. None of that $30,000 came out of our pocket prior to closing. So it's how you can structure these deals. So the Ohio deal, this was in June. 275 anchor on the cash. 389 was our final novation price. We literally spent $75 on pictures prior, just so that we could understand what the deal had. We needed nothing. We had a realtor that we worked with on a prior deal, sent the realtor out there. We listed the property for $535 and got a cash offer in 5 days. The net on that deal was $112,500. That was the biggest deal that I've done since 2018. And it was on a deal in Ohio. Never been to Ohio. It's amazing. You know, virtually you can do things. It's a matter of being able to buy at the right price and then having the process in place where you can dispo, because you can get great deals, but if you can't sell them, Ohio in the house, my market, where in Ohio? Well, we had one in New Lexington. I'm going to tell you, New Lexington, we did a deal in a novation in Ohio. That was a $65,000 in April. And then this one, I think was Middletown. Hold on, let me see. No, I'll get that information for you. But yeah, Ohio's been amazing. Will this recording be available afterwards? Yeah, definitely will be available. So the deal, what we had to do with that one, because the price was so high, and we, you know, it's one thing for a $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, but when there's a spread that's that high, we did a double close on that. So we didn't do it as a conventional novation, because when I say conventional, the difference between a wholesale and a novation when it comes to the closing statement is the seller doesn't have any tax liability for whatever we're earning on the wholesale. So just for give you an example, I get a property under contract for 100, I wholesale it for 120. The seller's tax basis for that sale is the $100,000. The $20,000 assignment fee goes on the buyer's side. So the seller has no tax basis for whatever we're selling the property for. When it comes to a novation, in that instance where we had the property under contract for $389, it was resold for $535. The seller's tax basis would have been the $535, because the novation fee goes on the seller side. It's not a buyer's expense. So in order to not have the seller get that tax hit, we did a double close. So he only had the $389. That's what his tax basis was, and everything worked fine. Hey, Brian.
Hey, Brandy, thanks for your time today. I've got two questions for you. You basically have the team that I'm planning on building out. I'm transitioning this year from one-man show to an actual team. I'm going to go lean and mean, but I'm nationwide, virtual, PPC only. My first question is, I did a time audit, determined that I needed a lead manager. I know some operators, they swear only your closers should be talking. Other operators swear you got to have a lead manager. I'm having a difficulty with transitioning to being the only guy who talks to my leads to having a lead manager. How do you handle the dynamic with your closers and the lead managers? Like, how much of the qualifying is the lead manager doing? And then how does the closer come in and still build rapport? Can you
So
speak to that a little bit?
100%. So that's a great question. So it's all a matter of really what is your threshold? Like, how much can you handle? You know, when there's an excess of leads and the leads aren't getting the proper follow-up, that's when you need a lead manager. So at the beginning, when we didn't have, I had one lead manager for the longest time. Right now, we have 3 follow-up specialists, which are basically lead managers, appointment setters. So when we get a new lead in, that new lead, a new PPC lead, our goal is for a closer to get on the phone with that person, with that seller within that 2 to 4 minutes. If by some chance there's 3, right now we have 3 acquisitions and 3 lead managers. If the acquisitions are busy, the lead manager is going to get on the phone with them, is going to ask some questions, get into a little bit of information, but the goal is to immediately transfer that call to a closer. So,
Okay.
they're getting a level of what's the condition, you know, what are some of the pain points, but really diving deep, we want that to be on the closer.
Okay. Yeah. For example, just yesterday, and I try to have the under 5 minute speed to lead, but it happened twice yesterday. I'm on the phone with a seller. I'm making an offer, or I'm, in the middle of a discovery call and a lead comes in and it sits for 19 minutes. I had an AI, and most people have a negative reaction to the AI, so I was experimenting with turning it off yesterday. So I know I definitely need one. I'm just having a hard time adjusting to.
Let me tell you what we're doing. So we built out a custom CRM. That CRM, when a lead comes into our universe, they're getting a text message and an email. Within the moment that lead comes in, the opportunity is created, they're getting a text message and an email. If they respond and nobody from my team responds to their response within 10 minutes, automatically we develop 2 AI agents. We have a voice and we have an SMS. The SMS AI agent is then jumping in, and it's amazing. Their goal is the same goal that the follow-up specialist has, and
get them on the phone with the closer.
Get them on the phone with the closer, set up an appointment. How quickly can we get information from you? So 19 minutes for a lead to wait for you to call them back.
Yeah.
You need a lead manager if that's the case, because that 19 minutes you spent probably, I don't know if it's local or if it's national, but you spent about $200 for that lead.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I know that.
Right.
Okay. So with the next question then is, how do you handle building culture with your sales guys and your Egyptians being fully virtual? Is it like a once a morning team meeting? How do you?
So basically, we have
do that
meetings. So my 10 o'clock meeting every day, 5 days a week, is with my dispo team. The dispo team is led by he's an American. He lives in Tampa, and his dispo team has 3 Egyptian remote team members, which are the dispo agents that are working alongside him. And then we have 2 TC. One of them is the TC, and then we have the TC assistant. So that meeting right there sets the tone for the day of what's going to happen in the dispo side. And then at 12 o'clock, literally the moment when this ends, when our office hours ends, we have a 12 to 1 o'clock ACQ meeting, which is the 3 American closers with the 3 Filipino follow-up specialists. So that's every single day. And then my right-hand man, which is basically my COO, he is a 25-year-old medical student from Cairo, Egypt, who has literally taught himself code, taught himself go high level, and he's the one who we developed the CRM together. And he and I are meeting daily, and then every single week we have a standing meeting. It's called 52 of 52. Every Sunday we meet for at least an hour to set the stage for what needs to happen in the following week.
Nice. So really just daily meetings with
daily meetings
teams.
And then also we have the culture is we use WhatsApp. WhatsApp is our means of real team communication. There's Slack, which is notifications, but the real team communication is done through WhatsApp. And the way that we built the WhatsApp system is every single property that we're dealing with has its own group. So everybody's able to collaborate and talk about, the underwriting, if we have pictures. So everybody's understanding what's happening with that deal, all in its own WhatsApp group. So through the WhatsApp groups, there's a lot of collaboration, and everybody knows what's going on.
Okay, very cool. Last question, something just came to me.
Yeah.
This is something that's been plaguing me in the last few weeks. After the contract is signed and it goes over to Dispo and TC, does the closer ever have to talk to that person again, like talk them off the ledge?
Well, it all depends. Listen,
I had some messy sellers, and I'm like, I never want to talk to them after the contract signed. I want that to be Dispo TC only. How do you handle that?
The word only is not, it can't be in your vocabulary, because every situation has its own, scenario. Give you an example. Our TC manager, his name is Mons. He's a 25-year-old medical student from Cairo. He is amazing. He was actually referred to me by Remy, who's my COO. He's amazing, but his accent's a little different than a straight American accent. So there's some of the sellers who have a little bit of a problem. So there's instances where ACQ has to still be involved, but it depends on the situation. We try and make ACQ's involvement little to none from the moment the contract is signed, because we want them focusing on getting more contracts. We don't want them focusing on how to on having to continue with the same deal.
Yeah. I got you.
Okay, Abraham, you got your hand up?
Yeah, hi. Thanks for the presentation. Good stuff, Bob. You really are nailing it. I'm doing also by myself. I'm solo. So I just wanted to know, obviously I see I'm getting brainwashed, speed to lead. What happens if you're solo? I see someone else, like you get these, I get Facebook, I'm doing with Esteban and his team, and I get at 3 a.m, 5 a.m. So I know they have the follow-ups, but lots of times I just don't end up getting them. And also part 2 of my question is it worth it for me to get a helper? I'm not going to call it a virtual assistant, like you just said. And how much do they cost? Where did you find such talent, and how much are they to get started?
Okay. So basically, number one, if you're getting inbound leads, you need a CRM that can process these leads, and you need some form of communication with that lead once that lead comes in. It doesn't matter if it's at 1 o'clock in the morning or 1 o'clock in the afternoon. The same process should be in place. So you have to have some sort of it's not a nurture, it's just a system in place that's reaching out to these sellers, letting them know that, no matter what time of day you're looking to set up an appointment, to be able to speak with them directly. That's number one. Number two, I got very, very lucky with my Egyptian team, the same way with my Filipino team. Everything that we did was basically through referral from another remote team member. So the Egyptian team member who was a cold caller at an agency in Cairo literally referred us to one person, to another, and it was all referral based. Personally, if I had it to do over again, what I would probably do right now, and I plan on doing, is getting in with a service like a Remote Latinos, where they're able to go and find talent and be able to get that talent for you, because how I was able to do it through referral base, it's not normal. And I know that. So to be able to have an agency who can bring that talent to you and you can interview them is, I think, the smartest route to go. And the prices vary. I mean, it could range, from $6 to $12 an hour. It all depends their level of expertise. What I like to do, I like everybody to, when we eat, I want everybody to eat together. So the way that I've done my comp plan when it comes to my remote team members is more performance based in terms of closings than it is on an hourly base, because I want them to eat and thrive and really push for the closings to happen. If somebody's just on salary or getting paid hourly, it's different than when they know that there's a bonus in place for them to earn accordingly.
All right, well, good. I'm very impressed with your company. Something to strive for.
Thank you. Yeah, and what's amazing with us is when you Brian, you mentioned about culture. When you bring the right culture fits to your team, things can explode. So we were doing $1 million, $1.2 million, $1.5 million, $1.8 million, but we didn't have a dedicated dispo lead manager. When I say lead manager, I mean like a dispo, somebody who's actually in charge. It was collectively being done. I was working at it. I had an amazing acquisitions manager who happens to be my son, who's turning 25 on Saturday. He was doing dispo and he was doing acquisitions. But one person can only sit in one seat, and when you try and sit in two seats, things you're not able to be as effective. So after the first quarter, that's when we brought in Carlos, who's our rock star dispo manager, and the culture that fit that he's been able to bring to the team and lead the three Egyptians. It's amazing. We've grown, they've grown, they're getting training on a daily basis, and they're really if we have a deal, I don't care where that deal is, we can sell it. So if anybody out there needs any help with dispo, if it's a deal, I can sell it. We have, I'll show you right here. We use multiple means. So there's an amazing company called Investor Base. I don't know if you guys know about it. We use Investor Base to download seller information. We use Investor Lift. We're in every Facebook group that there is. Facebook sells. Don't kid you. Don't think it doesn't. Facebook, in local groups, you can find buyers, you can find investors, and then we have where right here the sniper mode, the blast and call, and then the open house wholesale. So open house wholesale is basically setting up a seller. So a lot of times people are afraid to tell sellers really how the business is going to work. So if you can have your seller understand that you're not actually the end buyer, that you're working with them, and that you're going to be able to get the perfect end buyer for them, everything changes. When there's transparency between buyer and seller, it's a different world. Obviously, it's very difficult because there's a lot of a lot of times when acquisitions is working with a seller, they want that seller to know that they're the buyer. We're the end. You're dealing with your buyer. But there's companies out there who've scaled to really big heights. I mean, there was I was in a mastermind call. They did 3.9 million in the second quarter, and 95% of that was done through wholesale. And how did they maximize their profits? They had the open house strategy where they literally, every one of the sellers that they work with know that they are not the end buyer. And their goal is to bring in 10 to 20 people for an open house, basically like you would have in as a realtor. And they go in there, and then it's a competing one buyer against the other, and their gross assignments were able to grow by like 50%. It's amazing. So that's an amazing tactic that that we're starting to use right now. So yeah, it's crazy, Abraham. 3.9 million in 5 markets only. Wonder if there's data on that. Well, I don't know exactly what that question is, but the data that we're able to get through Investor Base, where we can go straight to buyers, has been super beneficial for us, and it's really not even that expensive. I think we pay $250 a month, and it's enabled us to get a ton of sales. So yeah, we've been speaking. We've been going through a lot. Nationwide, how many wholesale deals are there? That's a good question, Abraham. I don't know, but I can only imagine. I really don't know, because there's a lot of companies doing a lot of business out there. There's a lot of need. You know, everybody says, you know, is it a good time? Is it a bad time? Right now, there is tremendous need in the market. There's tremendous pain on the street. Sellers are coming out of the COVID. They bought too many properties. Things are tighter on the street, and sellers need to sell. I mean, we've gotten 3 contracts this week, literally, that our purchase price is their mortgage payoff. I see Taylor saying something. Yeah, 3 contracts this week where we're paying less than they paid, and we're just simply paying their mortgage off. Yes, Abraham.
Yeah, that just happened to me. I was supposed to close a deal this week. The lady thought she only owed 60 because that was her mortgage, and she didn't realize that during COVID, she took out 3 COVID mortgages, and she thought she didn't have to pay back.
Yeah,
and the title says, by the way, lady, you owe 115.
Yeah, HUD. It's amazing. Yeah. It's crazy.
She didn't realize, and then the deal got killed.
Deals blow up all the time. That's why as quickly as you can get seller payoffs in is important. We use PropStream to try and get mortgage balances so that we understand what we're negotiating for prior to. But a lot of times those HUD loans don't appear on PropStream.
Wow. It's crazy. So I see so many houses, there's absolutely no equity in them. It's crazy.
Yeah, and that's the other thing right now. You have to understand that those who are doing marketing, you're going to get a lot of listed properties, and you're going to get a lot of properties that don't have equity. But there's going to be instances where you can still work with them.
Right. Well.
Brandy, I have a question. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so but I'm a realtor myself, so I've been working with investors for a long time, and I'm like, why am I so stupid that I didn't do it myself? So this is good stuff that you're sharing. So my question would be, I'm not familiar with the term. That I know the assignment contract and I know the double closings. So when you're saying innovation, is that like
novation? Yes.
Okay.
The word novate in legal terms means to replace. So a novation is where my company gets a contract with your seller, and then we are novating that property. We are looking for a contract that will replace our contract. And it's basically an arbitrage. So we try and for easy numbers, we get a property under contract for 100,000. We're going to try and go and sell that property for 130 or 140 on the MLS. We're going to cover all the closing costs and any inspections, and the difference between the expenses that they're worth to sell versus what we're paying is what our fee is.
Okay, and then you're charging those closing, just a
I'm
side
paying.
question.
No. Those closing costs are coming out of my fee. So the seller's closing costs I'm handling. I'm giving the seller the.
And you're not charging that to the buyer, the
Well,
end user?
Well, the buyer's closing costs are being paid by the buyer, but the seller's closing costs are being paid by through our fee.
Okay, so let me go back to that, when you say innovation.
Yes.
So you're doing, say, if I'm a realtor, I can still buy the wholesale properties and I can still wholesale it myself. So if
Right.
if I get in touch with a distressed seller who doesn't want to do anything to the house, I go in as a buyer, as an investor, I do a contract with them, and that's going to be a novation contract, correct?
Not necessarily. The novation contract would only be if you're going to look to relist that
Yes.
on the MLS.
Yeah, so what I'm trying to wholesale it. So I'm going to get it under contract, and I want to tell the seller that I'm going to find you an investor who's going to fix this property and buy this property I'm buying at this price, and I'm going to go ahead and sell it at this price to the end
You
buyer.
don't need to you don't need to disclose so much to the end buyer, because you're basically going to to the seller. You don't want to disclose too much to the seller at that point, because the more information isn't always better.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking. So what kind of contract you're doing with the seller, and when you say transparency, what are you actually sharing with the seller?
Depending on the situation. With novations, you have to be 100% transparent, because if you're not, you're never going to get the deal done, because the seller has to know that property is going to be listed, because 9 times out of 10, they're actually going to show the property to the end buyer.
Right. So how are they agreeing to sell the property to you, to sell the property to you at $225, and then you're turning around and selling it at $335? Do they have problem with that, or do you find it easy?
Listen, that kind of spread is a big spread. A lot of times the spreads aren't, you said 225 to 335. Get out your cost of selling this, that, the other. You're probably that would be like a $75,000 to $80,000 spread. Those are few and far in between.
Oh, got you. Okay.
Yeah. You could listen, Abraham. You can do novations, or if the house is in good condition, or if you can get. In our instance, where we do a lot, is if you can get whatever repairs need to be done prior to closing or at closing, they can still get financing. Because most of the novations are going to be conventional and FHA. FHA need to be in better shape than the conventional. And we're doing VA novations as well.
So what I'm hearing, I think that's where I was confused. You're not really, your end buyers are the average Joe. You're not selling to investors.
Farah, no. When we're wholesaling to investors, we're novating to end buyers. That's the difference.
I see. Got you now. Okay. So when you're wholesaling to investor, that's the part I'm interested in. When you're wholesaling to investor, what kind of a contract are you doing? Just a purchase and sale contract with the?
Yes, we have our own purchase and sale contract that we use for wholesales and for novation. Something that we've generated. It works throughout the country. Different areas, different states have different requirements. So that you might, like in Ohio, you have to have a wholesale disclosure. In Tennessee, we need one. So you just need to be very, you need to understand what the requirements are in the different states that you're working in, so that you're compliant. Because the last thing you want is your contract to be go to a title company, and then the title company tell you that you need to now go and get something re-signed. You better to have all your bases covered from the beginning.
No, I totally understand, because every state is different. So when you're wholesaling to investors, you're basically doing double closing. That's what you're doing.
No. I don't want to do double close. I want to assign the contract to an end buyer, because all a double close means is that number one, I'm incurring more costs, and number two,
gotcha.
if I'm selling the property to a wholesaler at a price that works for them, why should my fee come into play? When I feel, listen, double close when the numbers, obviously we did a double close, it was $115,000 fee. But if my company's earning anything between 0 and 60,000 on a wholesale fee, I don't need to double close because I'm creating such revenue for that buyer that what they're paying for it really has nothing to do with how much I'm earning.
Okay, so basically you're doing assignment contract.
I'm doing assignment of contracts only.
Gotcha,
If it's a six-figure fee, yeah, I'm doing a double close.
Oh, got you. Okay, I see. Thank you so much, Brandy.
Yeah. Okay, so I mean, I think this was an amazing hour and change. Is there anything else that anybody wants to know? The one thing here is if anybody needs help with acquisitions, with dispositions, if you guys need help selling deals, like I said, if it's a deal, I can sell it. If you guys need help with acquisitions, I'm available. So.
No, thank you so much, Brandy, brother. Like, this was great. And I'm pretty sure a lot of people will have maybe more questions after this or after they actually watch it. Thanks for the shout out on remote Latinos. It's crazy. We're not working just yet because you're remote Habibis, you're remote Filipinos and remote Habibis. So
I'm sure we will. There's no doubt.
But yeah, man. Oh, Steve. Oh, no, never mind.
Yeah,
we also have Egyptians as well. Go for it.
Yeah, so Brandy, thank you so much for your time and everything. Oh gosh, I thought I lost my process of thought. Oh yeah, so I do have deals for you. So if I have a deal, you can sell because I'm working with probate and pre-foreclosures.
Where?
In Georgia.
Love Georgia. I'm doing multiple deals in Georgia right now. I have different, I don't know what area, but in the Atlanta area, I have one of the best title companies that we work with. I mean, it's amazing how quickly you can close deals in Georgia.
So how do I get in touch? Because I think I do have.
Here, anybody out there, listen, anybody out there, I'm on Facebook, but you can also just go on to Instagram. My Instagram is not very developed, but you guys should DM me. And then I'll reach out and
what's your Instagram username?
It's Brandy Pollack, BrandyPollack.
Okay, I just put in the chat for everyone.
Perfect.
Thank
message
you.
him on Instagram. I'm gonna help him out. I'm gonna help him out, like just rebrand him some stuff in social. But everyone that came in, thank you so much for being part of the mini masterminds that we do every single week. Here in Ariapreneurs. And also, just to give you guys a reminder, maybe I sent an email about this, but my country, Colombia, had a terrible earthquake like literally a few days ago. I think it was on Monday, and it was like a 7.4 magnitude. So if you guys want to support, like there's a lot of people that lost their home, like already thousands, and then hundreds already dead. So if you guys want to support, definitely there is a way to support it, even if it was with like $100 or $100 to $1,000 will work really well because we want to help as remote Latinos to these people that have lost their homes and everything. So you can always do a donation to Esteban at remotelatino.com sell or my Venmo, and then I'll make sure to actually like send that donation to the right people at Estenic, which is my Instagram. So I just put in there, but yeah, guys, thank you so much for being here. If you guys loved Brandy, definitely like give him a follow, a shout out. If you guys watched it in the YouTube channel, subscribe to the YouTube channel, ask any questions in the comments, hit the thumbs up, like it. We're going to be doing a lot more of this with people like Brandy. Maybe Brandy can even do a masterclass of innovations, but we're going to be doing a lot more of this with people like Brandy, because Brandy right now, he's taking maybe 1 or 2 people on consultations. And he will be willing to do consulting calls with you guys, obviously at a cost. because his time is very valuable. So we want to make sure that we bring in highly valuable individuals that can do a shift in your business as soon as possible. Like Brandy was, going to be hitting over 3 mil this year. So yeah, guys, love that you guys are here. Thank you so much. Brandy, anything else to say?
Listen, you guys, you're halfway through the third quarter. What are you going to do to finish the third quarter strong and then crush the fourth quarter? The 2027 is right around the corner. And you guys just need to be focused and you need to be committed. So, like I said, reach out to me. Let's see how we could work together. If you guys have dispo deals you need to do, like Esteban said, I'm probably going to take on 1 or 2 consulting clients. So I'd love to hear from you guys, and I just want everybody to crush.
Yes, sir. Let's make it happen. Everyone crush.
Now you know exactly how Brandy scaled to $3 million a year using Google PPC, speed to lead, and novations, all while running his entire team virtually. And there's one exit strategy he barely touched on that's quietly become his highest profit play, the one deal that netted him over $100,000. We're breaking that down next. Every Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern, we bring in operators and experts breaking down what's actually working for real estate investors right now, completely free. Stay tuned for what's coming next. Link to join the community is in the description. We'll see you there.